Today we continue our journey through 1 Samuel chapters 4 to 6. I will read key passages and I encourage you to read the full chapters on your own. The full reading reference is provided for you below. As chapter 4 begins, the time had come for God to carry out his judgment. The judgment had been spoken against Eli and his household. The Lord would accomplish his judgment through a familiar avenue in those days, which is war with the Philistines. After Israel suffered defeat, the elders asked, why did the Lord bring defeat on us today before the Philistines? Instead of seeking the Lord himself, they came up with their own solution. In 1 Samuel 4 1 to 3, they decide to bring the Ark of the Covenant from Shiloh into the battle. The problem was not the Ark, the problem was their hearts. They were treating the Ark as a tool, almost like a trinket, a charm, instead of recognizing it as the symbol of God's holy presence among the people living in covenant obedience. God's presence cannot be manipulated, y'all. In 1 Samuel 4 6 to 11, when the Philistines heard the ark had entered Israel's camp, they were terrified. They remembered what the God of Israel had done to Egypt, yet they fought anyway. Israel suffered an even greater defeat. 30,000 soldiers died. The ark of God was captured, and Hophni and Phinehas were both killed, exactly as God had foretold. In 1 Samuel 4 12 to 22, a messenger ran to Shiloh with the devastating news. Eli was sitting beside the road watching because he was anxious about the ark of God. When he heard that the ark had been captured, he fell backward from his chair, broke his neck, and died. He had judged Israel for 40 years. The tragedy continued. Phinehas' pregnant wife went into labor. As she died, giving birth to a son, she named him Ichabod, saying, the glory has departed from Israel, because the ark of God had been captured. Now, chapter 5 shows that although Israel had failed, the Lord himself had not. In 1 Samuel 5 1 to 5, the Philistines carried the ark to Ashdod and placed it in the temple of their god, Dagon. The next morning, they found Dagon falling face down before the ark. They stood him back up. The following morning, Dagon had fallen again. This time, his head and both hands had been broken off, leaving only his body. The Lord made it unmistakably clear that he alone is God. No idol can stand in his presence. In 1 Samuel 5 6 to 8, the Lord afflicted the people of Ashdod with tumors. The Philistines moved the ark about 12 miles away to Gath, hoping the problem would disappear. Instead, the judgment followed the ark. In 1 Samuel 5 9 to 12, God struck Gath as well. The people suffered greatly, so they sent the ark to Ekron. But the people of Ekron cried out because they knew what happened in the other cities. Everywhere the ark went, the hand of the Lord brought judgment. Chapter 6 tells us this continued for 7 months. In 1 Samuel 6 1 to 3, the Philistines summoned their priests and divinators to determine how they should return the ark to Israel. Yeah, the ones that they worship the devil, right? They knew they could not simply send it back empty handed. In 1 Samuel 6 4 to 6, they prepared a guilt offering consisting of 5 gold tumors and 5 gold mice. The mice represented the plague that had accompanied the tumors and devastated the land. Even the Philistines recognized that the God of Israel had afflicted them. Their own leaders warned them not to harden their hearts as Pharaoh had done in Egypt. Then they designed a test. In 1 Samuel 6, 7 to 9, they placed the ark on a new cart pulled by two cows that had never been yoked and had recently given birth. According to nature, those cows should have resisted the yoke and returned to their calves. If they went straight toward Israel instead, the Philistines would know beyond any doubt that the God of Israel had caused all their suffering. In 1 Samuel 6, 10 to 12, that's exactly what happened. The cows went straight forward to Beth Shemesh. They never turned to the right or to the left. Their natural instincts were overruled. The Philistines' ruler followed behind them and realized the God of Israel had indeed brought judgment upon them. The Lord had left no doubt. Chapter 6 closes with another solemn reminder of God's holiness. In 1 Samuel 6, 19 to 21, some men of Bethsheba looked into the Ark of the Covenant, violating God's command concerning his holy presence. The Lord struck them down. The people cried, "Who can stand in the presence of the Lord, this holy God?" That is exactly the question these chapters ask every reader. God is holy. His presence is never to be treated casually. His people cannot manipulate him, ignore his commands, or approach him on their own terms. Now, what do these chapters teach and show us? God cannot be manipulated. Religious symbols never replace genuine obedience. The Lord alone is greater than every false god. God's holiness demands reverence, the awe, the honor of him. God always keeps his word, whether in blessing or in judgment. Now, let's connect all of this across scripture. One of my favorites. Israel's misuse of the ark reminds us that obedience is greater than religious ritual. Deuteronomy 10, 12 to 13. Dagon falling before the ark declares what Isaiah 45 and 5 proclaims: "I am the Lord, and there is no other." The Philistines' hardened hearts remind us of Pharaoh in Exodus 7 through 14. The question, who can stand before this holy God, is ultimately answered in Hebrews chapter 10, 19 to 22 through Jesus Christ, our great high priest, who gives believers confidence to approach God through his finished work. Whew. Now, I'm encouraging you to read 1 Samuel chapters 4 to 6 in full. Y'all watch Israel learn that God's presence cannot be manipulated. Watch false gods fall before the Lord. And remember, our holy God is never controlled by people, but he faithfully reveals himself to those who approach him in reverence and obedience. The story continues tomorrow.